The NBA playoffs are a time where a lot about teams gets exposed. In the regular season, teams don't always go all out with their game plans because they're facing a new opponent every other day, while in the postseason, the coaching staff gets to focus all of their attention on one opponent at a time for an entire series. And sometimes these game plans expose some severe weaknesses in certain rosters, specifically when their stars don't have enough help around them. This is exactly what Bleacher Report sought to tackle with their latest article, published where their goal was to get NBA superstars the sidekicks that they deserve in order to compete at the highest level. As I have done several times in the past, we will be analyzing the article, going through each proposal, discussing the likelihood of the deals actually happening, who would win the trade if they were to go down, and why or why not each team would want to do it. Plus, if you want to read the actual article itself, that will be linked down in the description. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching the games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made, amongst others, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks that I'm looking at making for today's slate of games, I'm thinking of going with Al Horford to score over 11.5 points, Desmond Bane to score over 18.5 points, and Grant Williams to make over 1.5 threes. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first trade from the article we'll be going over is between the Dallas Mavericks and the Utah Jazz, and in it the Mavericks receive Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie, Reggie Bullock, Dwight Powell, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, their first-round pick this year, and a future first-round pick on top of it. This is certainly a big one that plays two big storylines into one, as the Utah Jazz could be looking to move one of Rudy Gobert or Donovan Mitchell this summer, and the Mavericks are still in need of star-caliber help to surround Luka Doncic with. This trade obviously is much more jam-packed than a simple one-for-one swap though, so there's a lot to unpack. I'll start by saying that I love the Gobert fit alongside Luka, because Luka is a playmaking maestro who dominates the pick-and-roll game, and he's been doing it with the likes of Dwight Powell, so replacing him with someone of Rudy Gobert's stature would be a monumental upgrade. Then, of course, defensively, Gobert is the perfect piece to hold everything together for a much improved Mavericks defense, especially with one of Luka's only weaknesses being his struggles keeping quicker players in front of him on defense, so if they get by him, the team would at least have an elite back line on defense to make up for it. Additionally, the Mavericks have a decision to make this summer regarding if they want to pay Jalen Brunson the money that he is undoubtedly worth with a contract extension, but if this trade were to happen, then Mike Conley would come in and fill that role, allowing Brunson to walk in free agency. For the Jazz, this gives them terrific depth to give Donovan Mitchell other weapons offensively, but the Jazz defense would undoubtedly take a big step backward, and that's a trade-off they will have to think long and hard about before accepting this kind of an offer. The next proposal in the article is between the Detroit Pistons and the Utah Jazz again, and in it the Pistons receive Rudy Gobert in exchange for Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick. They're stuck on this Jazz trend here, and honestly I don't blame them, but this deal in my opinion is so much worse than the first deal we just looked at, and I don't see any reason why the Jazz would entertain this. Jeremy Grant has shown in his time in Detroit that he's capable of being a 20-point scorer, which was one of his goals when he left Denver to be in a bigger role, but he's not exactly very efficient in that role, and realistically, I don't think a team with legitimate playoff aspirations will ever find that top-tier success with him in that big of a role, so for him to be the prize of Rudy Gobert trade just doesn't seem realistic. I like Isaiah Stewart as a promising young big man, and Kelly Olynyk is a reliable stretch big to have in a rotation, but Rudy Gobert is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year winner, and his price tag is going to be steeper than that. The Pistons are an interesting landing spot for Rudy Gobert because him and Cade Cunningham could possibly work well alongside each other, but I'm not sure if the timelines match up, and I also just do not believe that the Pistons have the assets required to get this kind of a deal done. Next up in the article is a deal between the Atlanta Hawks and the Brooklyn Nets, where the Hawks receive Ben Simmons and Cam Thomas in exchange for Clint Capella, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and this year's first-round pick. Looking at this has really opened my eyes to how low Ben Simmons' value has fallen over the course of the last year, and honestly, I can't really disagree with it being the case after everything that's gone down. He just chose to sit out an entire season of basketball, and then re-aggravated his back injuries when he tried to return to the court, forcing himself to have surgery on that back, so he is now damaged goods who will need time to shake off a ton of rust in his game, because basketball is not the kind of sport that you can just take a year off from playing and still be the same guy when you return. Even with all of that being said though, if he does work his way back to being the former Defensive Player of the Year finalist who can defend all 5 positions and create offense for those around him with his passing, then the possibility is worth a little bit more than just the team's 6th man, their aging big man who has already shown signs of slowing down, and a pick, especially if rookie Cam Thomas is going to be included in the deal as well, since he showed that he could be a spark plug of offense down the line as he develops. I love the Ben Simmons fit on the Hawks because they desperately need defensive help, and Ben could alleviate some of the playmaking duties from Trae Young too. So while this deal is very close, I'm not sure if it's perfect as it stands. And finally, the last offer in the article is between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors, and in it the Grizzlies receive Pascal Siakam and Malachi Flynn in exchange for Steven Adams, DeAnthony Melton, Zaire Williams, Brandon Clark, and 3 first-round picks. The Memphis Grizzlies are already proving that they can compete at the highest level with the best teams at this point, and the Toronto Raptors have created a very bright future for themselves, but it's difficult to see how they can take a leap in the short term, so this deal is centered around each of their respective timelines. Pascal Siakam has a tremendous season this year on both ends of the floor, and honestly, based on how much the Raptors organization seems to love his game, I'm really doubting that they would look to shop him on the market, but if an offer like this comes their way, it would be incredibly difficult to simply write off. Zaire Williams is still so raw, but he's also incredibly young, and his growth from the beginning of this season to the end of this season was night and day. Then DeAnthony Melton is a reliable guard to have in your rotation, Brandon Clark is the kind of guy who does a lot of the little things inside to help make his team stars' lives easier, and then on top of all of that, 3 first-round picks is a ton of value for Siakam. A core of Ja Morant, Pascal Siakam, and Desmond Bane would be tremendous to go into next season with, after having finished in 2nd place in the Western Conference this year, so I love it for the Grizzlies, but it would ultimately come down to whether or not the Raptors want to shift their focus more towards the future, or if they want to keep trying to rebuild for now with what they have in the present. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these offers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.